Alright guys, today we'll be going over the commercial insurance application, also known as the ACORD 125. This is the application that you fill out whenever you're looking to get a business quoted for insurance. It's used for various types of commercial insurance, whether it's for business auto, business owners, commercial liability, commercial property, or anything of that nature. As you can see, all of the coverages are listed here under lines of business. You'll use this form every time you request a quote. Now let's go ahead and dive into how you fill it out. To start, the date is in the top right corner. This is the date when you're filling out the form application itself. It's very important not to miss this step. So today is the 13th, January 2025. Next, you'll fill out your agency information. Now remember that we're only going to fill out the fields that are necessary to get a quote from the insurance carrier. You don't need to fill out every single box, just the essential information in order to generate a quote. Right below that, you will put the address and city and state where your insurance office is located. Alright, under that will be the contact name. This is your contact, so you'll put your name here, phone number, and your email address. This is the information that the carriers will use if they need additional information about the quote, and also where they will send the quote details. So you want to make sure this is accurate so you don't miss any communications from the insurance carriers. Now we'll select the status of transaction, which in this case will be quote. And for this example, we're going to quote a business owner's policy. Now next will be the proposed effective date. I recommend setting it at least 1 week in advance. Some insurance carriers can get back to you within a day, some within a few days. So giving yourself a little extra time is helpful. So for this example, we'll set it for the 20th. The proposed expiration date will always be 1 calendar year from the proposed effective date. Next, we'll move on to the billing plan, and we will select direct. This just means that the carrier will bill the applicant directly or the insured directly and not the agency. For payment plan, we will put a M here to indicate monthly. We always want to see if that option is available. And for audit, we will put A for an annual audit, which usually comes when the policy is up for renewal. Moving on to the applicant information. If the applicant has an entity, such as an LLC, then this is where you will put the name of their business. So for this example, we'll put JoJo's Plumbing LLC. If the applicant does not have an entity, meaning it is a sole proprietor or individually owned, then you will put their first name, doing business as JoJo's Plumbing. But for this example, we'll assume that he has an LLC. Directly under that, you will put the mailing address. Alright, next we will put the EIN number. It's crucial that you fill out this box because if you do not have this box filled, the carriers will not be able to generate a quote. So this is where you will put the EIN number if the client has one. If they do not, then this is where you will put their social security number. Business phone number goes here. And And if the client has a website address, it's not necessary, but it does help. You will put that URL here. We said that JoJo has an LLC with one managing member. Alright, now let's move on to the contact type. We'll assume that the contact for this quote is the business owner. So here we will put owner, name, we'll say his name is Joe Smith, and his business phone number, go here, email address, next we will move on to where the business is located. This will be the address of the business itself. So this will be location number 1, building number 1, and we will put the business address here. Now if they have multiple buildings at the same location, the next address you will put here, or the next location number, will still be location number 1, and it will be building number 2. This could be a storage shed or any other building that's not the main building itself, but still at the same location. If they have multiple locations, then you would change location number 1 to location number 2, and at the second location you will be putting the first building at that location. Alright, we'll assume that the building is inside city limits and that he owns the building. Now this is where you put the employee count, and this is only in reference to this location. So let's say he has 2 employees full-time and 2 part-time, indicating that there are 2 full-time and 2 part-time employees operating at 321 Main Street. Alright. Next we need the estimated annual revenue. This is the gross revenue of the business at this location. So let's assume JJ's Plumbing brings in $150,000 annually. Now let's fill out the building information. So we'll assume that this is a standalone building for this example, and we'll say the building is 1,200 square feet. They may have a front office or something like that that is open to the public, so we'll put 500 square feet open to the public. And since it is a standalone building, the total building area will be 1,200 square feet, indicating that this is the only business operating in that building. Of course, none of that will be leased to others. Now, if they were a part of a larger commercial building, say a strip mall or something like that, then this total building area would be the square footage of the entire building itself, including all spaces leased out by other companies. Description of operations. This is just a description of the services or the operations that apply to this location. So for this example, we will say clerical work and equipment storage. Alright, moving on to the nature of business. For this example, it'll be a service-based business. And here, the description of primary operations is just where you want to give any information that the customer has given you about the operations of the services that the business provides. So we'll say plumbing services. Here you can indicate whether it's majority residential, commercial. So we'll say this one is majority commercial. And you can also add any information that may be helpful to the underwriter in gauging what kind of business they are. So we'll say small town business, operating for 10 plus years, and rated 5 stars on Google. Alright, here you will put the date that the business started. Let's say it started January 1st of 2002. Alright, installation, service, or repair work. This is a plumbing company, so installation, service, and repair all applies to them. And it would be 100% off premises, assuming they travel to take care of their clients. Alright, moving on, we will fill out all of the general information questions. Be sure to fill out these questions. If the answer is yes to any of the questions, then you have to provide a brief explanation. So we'll start at the top here with number 1. And for example, let's say they do have a formal safety program in operation. We'll answer yes to that question. And let's assume that it's a safety manual. Any exposure to flammables, explosives, or chemicals? We'll say yes here. And say chemicals used in operations for cleaning. Something very simple, very straightforward. And then what you want to do is go through and ask the insured every single question word for word and put the answer that they give you. Alright, next we will fill out the prior carrier information. If they do not have a prior carrier, then of course you will leave this blank. But if they do, you want to make sure we put at least the year, the type of coverages they had, and with which carrier. So this is indicating that JoJo's Plumbing had general liability with Allstate, and we'll say you have property coverage with Allstate also. Now the premium is not absolutely necessary to get a quote, neither is the effective or expiration date, but it does help weave out carriers that may not be competitive in what JoJo's Plumbing is looking for. So we'll say he was paying $500 for his general liability and about $1,200 for his property. Alright, and then we'll say that his current policy was effective from January 30th of last year to January 30th of this year. Alright, next we'll address the loss history. If the applicant hasn't had any losses in the past 3 to 5 years, then you will simply check this box indicating that they do not have any losses. If they do have losses, get that information from the insured or the applicant. Make sure you put the date of occurrence, what type of insurance they had here, and then briefly describe the type of claim, how much was paid out, and whether the claim is still open, or if it's closed, you'll put no. Alright, right here is where you would put your signature as the producer and your name, and then directly under that you will put the applicant's signature. We usually send an e-sign document and have them sign and date it here. The applicant does not have to sign and date the insurance application in order to generate a quote, but before binding, that signature will be required. And also, the effective date and expiration date will have to be updated to the date of binding. And that is how you fill out the ACORD form 125 for the commercial insurance application.